Well, Seattle, this year might be looking up. I will say that much right now. Let's rock. Be sure to like and subscribe for more all around sport content. For now, enjoy the video. All right, what's going on, guys? My name is Antonio, and welcome back to the All Around Sports channel. Today, I am going over my Seattle Seahawks 2024 through 25 record prediction based best case scenario. I will be making one later on the worst case scenario. So, before we get this video started, I did want to mention I am trying to aim for 375 subscribers before the beginning of the NFL season. If we can hit that margin, that would be incredible. If we can hit that margin before the season starts. Also, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to do a record prediction on my team, the Seahawks, for a best case scenario and the worst case scenario. I'll be doing a worst case scenario in a later video. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please make sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's get this prediction started. So first up is the week 1 game against Denver. So this one should be a relatively easy game for the Seattle Seahawks. It should be relatively easy because the Broncos have a rookie quarterback under center, and two, their defense should be getting stronger as the season progresses. And this is probably the worst case scenario if you're Bo Nix going into the city of Seattle and going against this hard hit, strong defense. But anyways, sorry, I do memes a lot. So, anyways, the Broncos, I do believe I see the Seattle Seahawks getting the W against the Broncos because they've had their number the last few times. And if I were to give a score prediction, I would say the Seahawks win 42-14 because the Broncos, they have a rookie under center and rookies often do bad unless you're CJ Stroud. Next up, week 2 is against a potential another rookie, which is the New England Patriots. The Patriots drafted the rookie quarterback out of North Carolina, Drake May. Some people have said he could potentially get the starting job. Some people said that Jacoby Brissett could maybe come in as an early start. I do believe they're going to start Jacoby Brissett. But I am going to go with the Seahawks on this one because the Patriots, they have not been themselves since the Golden Boy left, which is Tom Brady, who is surprisingly coming back as an announcer this year. But anyways, I still don't know how that is possible. But anyways, at least he's not a player. At least he's not a player this time. But if I were to give a final score prediction, I'll go with the Seahawks in a final score in Foxborough, 56-7, because the Patriots, they are just god awful this year. Let's move on to the next team. So next up is the Miami Dolphins. So the Seahawks will host the Miami Dolphins this upcoming week, in week 3. So this one has me a little bit of question because it is the fastest offense. They have the fastest offense in the NFL with Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and OBJ. But this team is going to be a test. This one is going to test the Seattle Seahawks on their defensive side. I do believe that Mike McDonald is going to try his best to win this game. I do see a very hard, close fought battle, but I am going to give the Seahawks the L in this one because I believe that the Dolphins are going to be scary this year. And if I were to go with a final score, I would go the Dolphins winning the last second touchdown of a final score of 35-28 because this Dolphins team, I believe, is going to be even more dangerous than it was last year. Now let's move on to the next matchup. Next up is the Week 4 Monday night matchup, the first primetime matchup for the Seahawks against the Detroit Lions. Man, if I have been waiting for this game to hit primetime because the last three matchups between these two teams have been very tight. And who knows? Maybe the Detroit Lions will wear their new alternate black uniforms that they brought back. I mean, I was hyped when I saw those. But anyways, this is going to be a very close, hard fought battle. I think it's going to be closer to what it was last week, the last time they matched up. We all know the last time these two sides faced off, the Seahawks ended up winning on a game winning touchdown by Tyler Lockett in a final score of 37 to 31. I do see it ending in a similar fashion. I could see it ending in overtime again because these two sides are neck and neck every time they go against each other. I am going to go with the win here because it is the Lions and we've had their number. I don't know how we had their number, but hey, a win's a win. So I'll go with the final score of 34 to 28 in overtime. So let's move on to the next matchup. Next up is the New York Giants. The Giants, the last time the Seahawks faced the New York Giants, they had an 11 sack game against the New York Giants, along with Devin Witherspoon's first touchdown of his career, which was a 99-yard pick six. And this one is going to happen in Seattle because last time it happened at MetLife, the Seahawks are still undefeated in MetLife. This is going to be a good, tricky game. I do see the Seahawks winning this game, and I see them winning in a final score of 45 to 21, moving their record total to 4-1. But now we move down to the next matchup. So next up is the first Thursday night matchup and the first matchup between the Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this one should be interesting because it is at home, week 6, very early in the season. I do think the Seahawks are going to at least take one of the matchup against the 49ers. And if there's any matchup they're going to take, it is the one at home on Thursday night. Now, despite the Niners have taken over the Lumen Field the last two times because for some reason we've not been doing so well without Russell Wilson, I do think that is going to change because Mike McDonald, the primary reason that he was hired was to beat down the Niners like he did on Christmas Day, where he looked like the Grinch stealing Christmas when he was with the Ravens. Anyways, I just had to bring that up. But I am going to give the Seahawks the victory here because the Niners, I do believe they're going to be a little shooken up from the last Super Bowl that they lost. The Seahawks have beaten the 49ers once or twice after they've lost the Super Bowl. Of course, in 2019, after the 2019 season, they got swept. But anyways, I do see this game being a victory for the Seahawks. I do believe it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal. Final score of this game will be 38 to 35. And the Seahawks get their first win against the 49ers and end a 5-game losing skid to the Niners. Let's move on to the next matchup. So next up is the team with the question mark, the Atlanta Falcons in week 7. Now, this one is kind of a question mark because Kirk Cousins is now joining the Atlanta Falcons. And the Seahawks, the last time they faced off against the Atlanta Falcons, Marcus Mariota was their quarterback. But, of course, this is a different team. The Falcons, I do see to be one of those relatively good teams. But since they're full of question marks, I am going to give the Seahawks the W on this one. And I'm going to go with a final score of 35 to 28 in a little close battle ended by the Seattle Seahawks defense. Now on to the next matchup. So next up is the Buffalo Bills. Now the Bills, this team is kind of a question mark because Josh Allen is, of course, still there. He has played against the Seattle Seahawks before, of course, during the pandemic year when they were in Buffalo. This will be Josh Allen's first game in Seattle. So I am going to give the Seahawks the victory here because Josh Allen still has many question marks around him on how good he will do without the help of Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis. I am going to give the Seahawks to win in a close battle of a final score of 42-35. I do believe it's going to be that close, but now on to the last matchup before the bye week. So next up, the last matchup before the bye is against the Los Angeles Rams at home. Now, this will be the first game that the Seahawks have played against the Rams since Aaron Donald went into retirement.
No, no, no! 15-yard line. He's not happy about being escorted out.
Now, of course, this is a big plus side because the Seahawks offensive line doesn't have to deal with that terror of that guy anymore. But anyways, the Rams, I believe this is going to be a really good matchup. I do expect it to be close, like it has been in the last few years. But Aaron Donald being out and now in retirement is going to have its toll. And I do see the Seahawks splitting the series against the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks on this one because the Seahawks, I do expect to be back in that role of winning and beating up on the Los Angeles Rams now without Aaron Donald. And final score would be 35-28 in Seattle and going 8-1 entering into the bye. So next up, coming off of the bye, is on the road in San Francisco. Now, this one, the last time these two teams faced off from the season I'm predicting, the Seahawks would beat them in Seattle. So I do see the 49ers winning this one because it is very hard to win in Heinz Field or Levi's Stadium. My bad, I got mixed up with the Steelers Stadium. My bad. But anyways, Levi's Stadium is one of the hardest places to play. And I do see the Seahawks losing this one in a final score of 48-35 in favor of San Francisco. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be a split. I believe it'll be a split between the Niners and the Seahawks. So next up is the Arizona Cardinals in Week 12. Now, the Cardinals. This one is going to be interesting because they would face them at home this week, and then 2 weeks later they'll face them on the road. But this is going to be interesting because Kyler Murray now has a new weapon in Marvin Harrison Jr. I am not buying the hype that is around them, so I'm going to go with the Seahawks victory here in a final score of 45-21, and we beat down on the Cardinals our first matchup. Now on to the next match. So next up is the New York Jets on the road in MetLife. Now, this one is kind of a question mark because Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are declared to be a Super Bowl contender this year. Huh? I'm not buying the hype. I am not buying it one bit. And I am going to go with my Hawks on this one because I don't believe that the accusations of the Jets are true because Aaron Rodgers, he's washed up, and I don't think that he is going to be relatively good this year because we have to see it to believe it. And coming off an Achilles tear, you have to show that you're just that. And I do see it being a closer game than the Giants one was, and winning in a final score of 35-28, beating the New York Jets. Let's move on to the next matchup. So next up is the Cardinals game on the road. Now, this one is going to be relatively good as well because each matchup between the Seahawks and the Cardinals are relatively close. But I'm not going with that this time. I'm going to stay with my Seahawks on this one. I'm going to go with a final score of 56-21 because Kyler Murray is still an overrated quarterback. And that would make it a record of 11-2. Now we move to the next match. a Sunday night throwdown in one of the greatest rivalries that ever took place on an NFC Championship stage. Sunday night in Seattle against the Green Bay Packers. Now, this one, oh my gosh, when I first saw this game, I was kind of hyped that this matchup is back and kind of nervous because I do expect them to be a really good team this year. But the Packers, oh my gosh, after absolutely putting a spank down on the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card last year,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
now they jump into this season as a Super Bowl contender. I'm not buying it yet, but we'll see what happens with Jordan Love. Jordan Love is looking good again as another Hall of Fame quarterback, but I am going to give the Seahawks the win on this one because let me tell you why. Aaron Rodgers, I know that the Seahawks are really decent against him, but Jordan Love, this is his first game in Seattle. First game against Seattle as a whole. Because Jordan Love, I do expect him to be really good this year, but I don't see it against a tough Seahawks defense that is going to be coming. But I am going to go with the Seahawks on this one in a final score of a close matchup, 42-35. But now let's move on to the last three matches. So the one against the Vikings, this one is interesting because the Minnesota Vikings, after getting Aaron Jones from the Packers after they released him, they now have a sneaky type of roster. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. This team's getting is more dangerous than people are thinking it is because this Vikings team is gonna be dangerous. That is why I have the Seahawks losing to the Vikings because the Vikings they are really good. They I believe they have the potential to be a sleeper team this year because this Vikings team is gonna be really competitive, and I see them winning by a last second field goal in a final score of 38-35. The Minnesota Vikings are going to be dangerous this year because their defense is still strong and their offense, we'll see who becomes their quarterback, but watch out for the Vikings because I most certainly am. And then you got the last of the primetime matchups against the number one pick of the draft, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears, this one is going to be interesting because this game is going to be relatively good. I do expect the Seahawks to win this one, and I'm going to go with that because it is the number one pick after all, and we already know what happened with Bryce Young last year.
Michael, don't leave me here. Michael, help me.
Who knows if it's going to be the same this year? Who knows? But anyways, if I were to go with the final score, I would go with a final score of 42-38, getting their revenge against the Bears that pounded them on the snow day when they last faced off against the Bears. And last but not least, the Rams game. Now, this one could be relatively good because the Seahawks might be fighting for a number one seed. They could be fighting for a number two seed. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. This is the highest ceiling. Remember that I'll be doing a video later on the floor on like the worst case scenario. But anyways, this game in if the Seahawks might have all their backups in there. So I am gonna give the Seahawks the L on this one. So because the backups might be in there because they could probably host a playoff game if they were to win their division, which I highly doubt against the Niners. But if we did somehow win the division, I would be surprised if we did win the division. But with the Seahawks having this easy type of schedule, I do see the Seahawks losing to the Rams. I said they were going to split the series earlier, and I still stand by that. So if I were to go with the final score, I'm going with a final score of 38-28. And the Rams take the last one of the season. That means my final record prediction in best case scenario is 13-4 because the Seahawks, their defense is going to be a lot better this year. Their offense is going to be relatively decent with a new coordinator. But the games I have on the highlight list is the Dolphins, Lions, Niners, Bills, the Packers, and along with the Vikings, Bears, pretty much every team that is going to be a competitor this year because I do think the Seahawks are going to do better than they were the last few years because they needed new coordinators, check. They need a new coach, check. They need new weapons, check. I truly, so heartily believe this. If the Seahawks can pull off this record, and if the 49ers end up having growing pains from their Super Bowl loss, if the Seahawks win the division and win a playoff game with the first season of Mike McDonald, watch out for this team in the future because this team is only growing stronger and stronger every single year. But let me know in the comments what you guys think down in the comment section below. What record do you guys think is the highest ceiling for the Seattle Seahawks? And remember, I will be doing a video on the worst case scenario of the Seahawks roster, of the Seahawks record in a few days. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao for now.